Welcome back to the channel. I'm Martin Bryan. Today we are deconstructing one of the most explosive political sit-downs in recent memory. Kanari Mugume versus Dr. Odonga. We have all heard the whispers of a transitional government and seen the tweets about the succession line. But Dr. Odonga just threw a massive wrench in that narrative. From the smell of the 2031 ballot to a surprising defense of the UPDF engineering brigade, this interview completely shifts how we look at Uganda's political horizon. I've broken down the 4 key segments of this exchange to see where power is actually heading, or if it's staying exactly where it is. Let's go into the analysis. Kanari kicks things off by probing whether the current cabinet and leadership structure signal an exit strategy. Is this the last term? Dr. Odonga's answer was a cold shower for those expecting change. He dismissed the transitional label entirely, famously remarking that he can already smell President Museveni's name on the 2031 ballot, citing the African dream as the president's ultimate motivator. Otto predicts a presidency that only ends with life itself, suggesting that any talk of a handover is premature.
I feel that this is a transitional term, and therefore whatever cabinet that is appointed or whatever leader is appointed could point to a transitional government. Do you feel like this is the last term of President Museveni?
No, I don't feel this is a transitional term. I smell President Museveni in the ballot of 2031.
Really?
I don't see this as a transitional term. I don't. This is not President Museveni. He has made statements that unless the African dream is done. So I see President Museveni running in 2031. Actually, he will die in office.
The discussion then shifts to the elephant in the room, the CDF, General Muhoozi and his social media declaration about taking power kind of raises the heavy questions. What about regional rotation? What about religious diversity? That's Odonga. Oto's response was a firm reality check. He reminded the audience that this is a republic, not a kingdom. He challenged the idea of power as a family inheritance, questioning when the center of power will finally address the grievances of Catholics, Muslims, and other religions that have been sidelined in the presidency candidate. Even question for the women, they have never stepped in. I think that's something good for the Women's Day celebration.
So you've seen the CDF General Muhoozi pointing towards him taking power after President Museveni, and he even tweeted and said this is going to be President Museveni's last term. When you look at such things and who has been appointed around power, who yields power today and who does not, what does that speak to?
First of all, what about other regions of the country? There are those who are saying after the West, the presidency should go to other areas. We have not yet abandoned that debate. What about the Catholics? Should it be that the president should always be a Protestant? What about the Muslims? What about the women? When are we going to answer those questions? Is this a kingdom? This is a republic.
What happens to a country when you all
This is a republic. This is not a kingdom.
Here, Otto brings his experience from the Committee of Defense into play. He points out a massive legal hurdle. The Constitution, Museveni had to retire to run as a civilian. Is General Muhoozi ready to do the same at 52? However, Otto offered a surprising pivot. While skeptical of a political handover, he gave credit where he was due, praising the UPDF engineering brigade for revolutionizing Kampala's roads. He contrasted their efficiency with the useless corruption of civilian agencies like the UNRWA, though he left us with a lingering question. Does fixing roads qualify a general for the presidency, or is it just a sign of high-performing military?
What happens to a country when you have interests, scattered all over, and yet you do not have a center of power that can discuss or have this conversation?
You see, I was in Bombo when President Museveni was retiring from the army. There was a 21-gun salute I was there. I was a member of Committee of Defense. Why did President Museveni retire from the army? Because the Constitution says to run for presidency, you have to be a civilian. So are you telling me General Muhoozi is going to retire from the army? Is Muhoozi going to retire from the Uganda People's Defense Forces to become a presidential candidate? Is General Muhoozi, my friend, at that age ready to retire from the army at 52 years? So I don't see in a foreseeable future General Muhoozi retiring from the army. But what I see, which we have to learn to make credit where it is due. In this 1 year he has been army commander. Look at the roads in Kampala. Yesterday I passed in front of Moobs. Then I went to that corner of Mulwana Road. The UPDF has done a commendable work in terms of construction. Save this useless corruption of UNRWA. What we give credit where it's due. The Uganda People's Defense Forces Engineering Brigade has revolutionized the face of Kampala. But does that mean that General Muhoozi should be the president? Is he ready to retire from the army before becoming a civilian president? Or the constitution is going to be amended?
Kanare Ngume asks, where is power actually shifting? Otto doesn't blink despite all the talk of succession, regional interests, and military infrastructure projects. His conclusion remains unchanged. He sees no shift. He sees the status quo. To him, the road leads directly back to 2031 ballot with the same name we have seen for decades.
Where do you see power shifting to?
I personally see President Museveni on the ballot in 2031.
If Dr. Odonga is right, the succession battle we think we are watching is just noise. The real story is the premise of the current seat. I'm McDonald Bryan, and that was the breakdown. I'm dropping the clips of the exchange so that you get to see more. Do you smell 2031, or is the transition already underway?